Hey, babe, what are you doing? Why are you all dressed up?
Well, it's Passover, baby, and I'm trying to get in touch with my roots. You know, my mother always said, you got to get in touch with your roots, Mark. Know where you came from, okay? Know your history. So this is a big night, Passover. This is the haggadah. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Passover. And it's kind of timely, if you think about it. The whole story of Passover is that this plague, the 10th plague, passed over the Jews. And right now, we're in a plague of sorts. So it seems appropriate to send out our good wishes to everybody. I got my matzah delivered to me today from a rabbi friend of mine. Matzah is one of the main themes of Passover. Now this one's really unusual. I've never seen a box like this. The pieces are round. Usually you see it in square boxes. But this was hand delivered to me. It's handmade in Israel. And a rabbi gave it to me. In fact, he's the rabbi who endorsed my book, plug, about a survival story. A story of redemption. And he wrote a really nice plug on the back. You can't see it, but I sent him an email and he was really appreciative that I put it on there and wanted to send me a gift. So he had somebody come by. I met him outside and they hand delivered the matzah. So I thought I would, tell my Gentile friend, Mr. Producer, can I use that word, Gentile?
Yeah, it's okay.
You think it's okay? I'm not going to go
It's
to PC
fine.
court?
It's okay.
Put on trial?
I'm sure.
In Yiddish, they call him Goya. The Goyim.
What's a goyim?
It's a non-Jew, a Gentile, right? And then, if you want to say it for a female, it's a shiksa.
Shitska.
No, a shiksa.
Shitska.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Give a look, his new girlfriend. She's a shiksa. They say it quietly, don't want anybody to hear. But, it was really nice of him to bring that over. So, the story of Passover, I thought I would just explain it to everybody. Why not? I was raised as in a conservative temple. So in Judaism, like when you're growing up, you're either an Orthodox Jew, a Reform Jew, or a conservative Jew. They're kind of in the middle. And conservative and liberal, or Reform, it's not political. It's just how strict you are. So we were kind of like in the middle. So you notice the haggadah, which basically means the telling. It's really the story of Exodus from the Bible. And that's really what the story of Passover is all about. And this is the book that this exact one is the one that I had in my childhood. And I went to Hebrew school after regular public school. All my Jewish friends and I, we went to Hebrew school 3 days a week after public school for 2 hours. And we learned how to read this stuff. And you'll notice that the book opens backwards because Hebrew's written from the right to the left. And we learned how to read it like that. So, you would think that this is the back of the book and this is the front, but it's the other way around. And by the way, the right to left thing carried over into modern times. That's why you might notice that most Jewish people, when they go to a restaurant, that's how they read the menu, from the right to the left. Anyway, we learned how to read that. So if you're in a Reform temple, there wouldn't be Hebrew here. There would be it would be a transliteration, like in Roman alphabet. But this tells the whole story of the Passover story, and it's what you recite. There's prayers in it and stuff like that. And I just wanted to explain what Passover is all about. There's really 4 themes that really go through all of Jewish history. And you might notice them. The first one is that this is basically a story of redemption and salvation, of the Jews getting liberated from being slaves in Egypt. And so that's like the main story. It's like foreign oppression and the beginning of the what you would call like a persecution complex, like my mother would say, you know. What, you think anti-Semitism, you know, is a modern thing? It goes back in history, Mark. Are you kidding me? It goes all the way back, you know.
He's gonna kill you.
Did you read your haggadah? It's in there. The Jews were oppressed. So yeah, it's a story. That's the first theme of oppression, and the second theme really is of that the Jews are like a protected people. They're a resilient people. They can come back, you know, even in times of oppression, they can survive. You know, that they're a resilient people. And the third theme is that it's of the diaspora. That's what this story of Exodus is about.
Diaspora, what's that?
It means the spreading out of the people out of their homeland. So they, you know, dispersed throughout different, you know, like people ask me, like, are you Italian? No. Are you Persian? I go, no, I'm Jewish. And they go, okay, well, where are you from? I go, that's the point, right? Jewish people don't really have a homeland until recently, you know? Yes. So that's the third, you know, the fourth theme is the returning back to the homeland, you know, the land of Israel. And, you know, we all, at the end of the haggadah, at the end of the ceremony, there's a saying, and Jews say it at all holidays and at the end of services and stuff, you know, next year in Jerusalem. So there's this longing for the coming of the Messiah, and the Jews are going to be delivered permanently from bondage, you know.
Okay. And
in fact, the Seder, which is the dinner that you have on the first night of Passover. Passover is a 7-day thing, and the first night is celebrated with a special dinner, and it follows a certain order, and it all has some meaning. So there's a Seder plate, and it's set up like this, and there are these 5 items. Is it 5? 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 5 items, and they all represent something. So the first one is the shank bone, and that represents the sacrificial lamb, the sacrifice. And then the egg represents the cycle of life, the new beginnings. The bitter herbs represents the bitter slavery that the Jews were subjected to in Egypt for thousands of years. The haroseth, it's kind of like it's like a horseradish type thing with nuts and raisins and vinegar and stuff. And that actually represents the mortar that the Jews would have to use when they were building the buildings for the Egyptians with the bricks. It represents the mortar.
Okay.
And the parsley represents the spring. So like a new beginning.
Yes.
So everything has like a symbolic meaning, you know. So the basic story goes like this. I mean, it has like 4 parts. So the Jews, okay, they're in bondage under Pharaoh, right? And Pharaoh, this is thousands of years ago, he's like afraid that the Jews might outnumber him. So what does he do? He says all the sons born of Jews, they need to be drowned in the Nile. Okay, so they start going out and drowning all the Jews, and this is when Moses is put in a basket and he's sent down the Nile, and one of Pharaoh's daughters finds him, and he grows up as an Egyptian. But when he becomes an adult, he realizes his real identity and wants to deliver the Jews from bondage. So he goes to the Pharaoh and he says, you need to let my people free. And he's like, no way, right? So God issues 10 plagues, okay? And they're listed in here.
And what are they?
And the 10 plagues, kind of hard to understand some of them, but the list is in here. Damn.
You lost your list.
Yeah, it's in here. Let me find it.
It's not right there, is it?
No, it's in this book here. Okay, so blood, frogs, vermin, beasts, cattle disease, boils. Damn, all of a sudden I got all these boils. Hail, locusts, darkness, and the 10th one is the slaying of the firstborn. So what happens is the Pharaoh's, while this plague is going on, and the 10th one takes place, and he's killing all the firstborn. The Jews are told, if you put blood from the sacrificial lamb over your door, this plague will pass over you.
Okay.
See? And that's how it got the name Passover. And the Jews were spared. But what happens is Pharaoh's first son is killed. So he goes, okay, I've had enough. I'll let you guys go. So he lets the Jews go, and they leave Egypt. And then his counselors say, what did you just do? And he goes, yeah, what did I just do? Let's go get him. So they get in their chariots and they go after him.
Oh my God.
And, the Jews come up to the Red Sea, they're cornered, and then the sea opens and all the Jewish people go through, and the Pharaoh's, the Egyptians going after him, and the sea closes. That's basically the story of Passover.
Oh, wow.
That's the whole thing right there. Now, the matzah, what it represents is when the Jews were cast out of Egypt, they roamed around in the desert for 40 years before they actually found their place back in Israel. So they didn't have time for the bread to rise. So they wrapped it up in their cloth, and it's flat, unleavened bread. So the tradition is, before the Seder meal, an adult takes a piece of the matzah and he wraps it up in a piece of bread and hides it somewhere in the house. And that's called the Afikomen. And the Afikomen literally means dessert. And this was really a clever tactic, because this dinner goes on for a long time. Okay, we did it in our house. It'd take about an hour. But in Orthodox Jews' house, this thing takes like 3-4 hours before you get to eat anything. Okay? So the kids would fall asleep. So they would promise the kids that if you can find the Afikomen at the end, you would get a gift, special prize. And we used to do that, hide it. And that would keep the kids up.
Was it good prices?
I can't even remember. Get a little something. Maybe a little, Hanukkah gilt from the past holiday.
Okay.
Those little coins.
Yeah, I love those.
Thing like that. Now, there's a prayer that we would say over the wine, and that is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam borei peri hagafen. Now, every Jewish kid knows, if they went to Hebrew school and you ask them, do you remember anything? They're going to remember two things. The first one is that prayer that I just said, because at the end of every service that we would go to, like on the Sabbath, on Saturday, there would be a kaddish at the end, which would be like a little catered thing. There'd be some food, there'd be challah, and they'd say a prayer over the challah, and then there'd be some bagels and lox and gefilte fish and pickled herring and all these things. And even the kids could get a little bit of wine. The adults would have like the hard stuff, the schnapps, a little bit of Jameson or some scotch, some Dewar's, give me a little Dewar's. L'chaim. Did I tell you about L'chaim? So
No.
L'chaim is, to life. That's what you say before you drink. L'chaim.
Oh.
And if you can't remember, just remember, look how high I am. Say it fast. L'chaim.
Don't do it, because you're just saying how high you are. Don't do it. I did it earlier. It was hilarious.
Yeah, when you set up the Passover Seder, you set up the plate, but you also, there's a setting with a glass of wine and a plate for Elijah, in Hebrew, Eliyahu. And he's considered the Messiah. So it's like this future longing for, redemption, a permanent redemption of the Jews, represented by Elijah. And there would be a setting for him. And there would even be, you would go and open the door to let him in, symbolically.
Yes.
Now, a funny story about Elijah, the Messiah. A number of years ago, I was in an airport and I met a rabbi. And, I always wondered this as a Jew. It's like, what did, Jewish people think of Jesus? Because he's considered the Messiah by Christians. So we got into this conversation and I said, so he was from New York. So Rabbi, what's your take on Jesus? Look, Jesus was looking pretty good to be the Messiah. But as soon as he said he was the Messiah, all bets off. Because it says and then he quoted something, the Messiah will never say he's the Messiah. Now, the second Hebrew prayer that every Jewish kid who went to Hebrew school would know is called the Shema. It goes, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, which basically means, O Lord of Israel, O Lord our God, the Lord is one. And there's a Jewish expression. I remember one day in Hebrew school, Rabbi Weiss, he was telling us, so we were all like, 12, 13-year-old little wise guys, that God will allow every Jew to say this before he dies. Okay? And me and my friend Robbie would be like, we would make fun of that and go like, come here, cowboys! You're dead! It's like, Shema, Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. So, well, that's about it. I hope you guys learned something and found it interesting. And just remember, this too shall pass over, and we will get through this together. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button over there and the little thumbs up button over there, and share it with your friends. All right, l'chaim.
Trying to do this Passover thing here. You're interrupting me, okay? I'm trying to tell all my Gentile friends about the Passover, okay? Alright, listen up now.